Hi everybody, and welcome back to my orchid life. I appreciate you coming by for another visit. So what we're looking at are a few of my stressed orchids, and I kind of want to talk about them today because sometimes when we are doing the orchid hobby and getting into them, this is kind of what we end up with, a bunch of stressed orchids, because we're learning. We don't know what we're doing. We're watching videos, reading articles online, trying to figure it all out and trying what everyone is saying. Oh, this works, this works, this works. And sometimes we don't take into consideration what we're taking advice from. We may be taking advice from someone who grows in a greenhouse and we grow in our home, or the opposite. We're growing in our home and the person we're taking advice from is growing in their greenhouse. So greenhouse environment and a home environment are different. You can simulate a lot of the same things, humidity, that kind of stuff. Obviously, you can't get the higher humidity in your home that you can get in a greenhouse. 90%, 80% in a home, yeah, you're gonna have mold on the walls. No one wants to live with that. The thing is, when we are watching someone else, we need to take that into consideration. And then sometimes what works for one doesn't always work for another. And what worked for one plant may not work for another plant. And I have a couple of examples here that I'm going to show you. Let's just start with one of my newer orchids here. This is my Monchica, my reninthera Monchica. I've lost 3 leaves since I got her. I'll post a video of what those leaves look like. When I got her, I potted her up in moss, and let's see, in this, I had her in moss. Within 2 days, the 2 bottom leaves that were green had turned red, orangey red. Then this leaf right here just came off today. It was orangey red. So what I did about 3 days ago is I took her out of the moss, and she is in nothing but large bark. The stem of the reninthera is only about that far in to the bark, and I'm hoping that by putting her in the bark that will dry it out a lot quicker. The roots that she has in there are horrible, and this one root right here that you see, she came with, it was growing, it has stopped growing. I'm leaving it there. I'm only going to water her like every 2 or 3 days just to make sure, and I'm going to monitor, because if I didn't get it, this leaf right here will start turning in the next day or so. I have reached out to the company that I bought her from to let them know. I've sent them pictures. I took stills from the unboxing that I did so they can see what she looked like when I got her. I did send them stills of the repotting, and so there's a time frame, but will they replace it? I don't know. I'm still waiting to hear back. Then I have my Epilea volcano trick red lava, who when I got her was absolutely stunning, and she bloomed, and then she produced, let's get back down here, she produced this growth here and this growth here. Well, this growth here, as you can see, it's very weak. There are no roots on that new growth. However, this one here does have some new root growing, so I'm hoping, and I'm trying to keep it covered with the bark, so that it will encourage those roots to go down and not up, and I'm hoping that that will save this plant. Because the other leaves, as you can see, are starting to get droopy, and she is starting to use up all of her reserves. Then we have this one here, who today when I was watering and I was moving things around, noticed there is another leaf growing on the second side. And like I said, this is a mama and a keiki. So this leaf right here is continuing to grow. Now she is in mainly moss and bark, and it's because she had very weak roots, and I'm trying to encourage the roots. In a couple of months, I'll take her out, maybe even a couple of weeks, kind of see what's going on. And then this one here was doing nothing forever, and then she started growing this leaf a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed today that she's got, let's see if we can see it, a nice little root in there. Did you see it, Colin? I don't want to disturb her too much, but let me move this tag out of the way. There we go. Let me move that. But she's finally starting to put out new root growth. This one here is my Noid phalaenopsis deja that I had put on a seagrass mount, and she quickly said, nope, I don't like it. So I took her out and put her in this pot. For the longest, she pouted and did nothing, and these leaves were so droopy, and she's starting to stiffen up. Then she started growing this leaf here, and she's got roots in the pot. She's starting to recover, and this one, and this one here are all this, I'm assuming the same plant. They all came out of one pot. I got them in May of 2020, and they did nothing until May of this year, 2021, when they started producing roots, leaves, just started taking off. So it's a matter of patience. I just watered them. I didn't water them but maybe once or twice a month because there was nothing going on, but just enough to keep the moisture in there. And then this one here is my baby pink cloud. Her flowers resemble the soft clouds. They have a very soft pink to them. And when I got her, of course, it was Pretty Blooms Must Have. Didn't really look at her, brought her home, yay. Flowers spent, and I cut the spike. I was not paying attention, and had I paid attention, I would have noticed that we have a terminal spike. But do you see what's growing right next to that terminal spike? A keiki, which is what I've been waiting for. But what I was doing is I kept looking at the base because she was growing out all those roots and everything. I was thinking that there would be a basal keiki. No, she said, nope, I'm gonna bring you a keiki from the top. So again, patience. Let's see, this one here. When I unpotted her, the other leaf that was right here just fell off, and she has produced me a keiki, and it is taken off. So I will not repot. Even when Mom dies, I'm just gonna leave her in this pot until she really establishes herself. And then we have Miss Wendy back here. Beautiful, beautiful plant. And then she just started going downhill. So I took her out of her pot. She had 2 roots to go with, and then for 6 months did nothing. And then finally she started producing just smaller leaves, and then each leaf is getting larger and larger. This one here is her latest, and this right here is my fault. I dropped a mount on her and cracked her. Don't give up, guys, is really the key. And then I have this one that I just today repotted and put her in all moss. Again, all of these are either in a all bark mix, a moss bark mix, or in this case, all moss. I'll post a picture of what this one looked like before, if I can find it. She had 2 droopy leaves forever. And I finally was like, you know what, you're on your way down. I'm just gonna take these leaves off, pot you into a smaller pot, and see what happens. Well, she started growing this here. A couple of days ago, I noticed, let's see, she has a keiki growing. So I don't know if this one is done and now keiki's gonna take over, or if they're just gonna grow in conjunction with each other. But I could have easily just thrown this orchid away, but I didn't. The good news is, when you have this, when you end up with a lot of stressed and struggling plants and you start getting discouraged, just remember, you also have this. You have healthy plants. You have plants that are doing well for you and are producing leaves and flowers and roots and just making you happy. You're going to have struggles. The key is make sure you have some healthy ones too, and just, learn from your mistakes. All of these, almost all of the bigger hybrid phals that I have, I've experimented with them. I've tried water culture, I've tried leca, I've tried a combination of self-watering, all bark, all moss. Some things work, some things don't. Allow time for those things to work. Like I said, these 3 right here, for a year, did nada. They just sat there. But then they were like, you know what, may as well do something, she's keeping us. Again, I could have easily thrown any of these away. They're all grocery store phalaenopsis. I could have easily replaced them. You see them all the time. So it's not like they're rare or expensive or anything, but I maintained. I watched videos, I read, I experimented. So don't ever just give up. If it's a passion, roll with it. Keep it up. All right, guys, if there's anything that you need me to expand on, if I didn't cover something that you have a question on, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up, and we will see you on the next one. Everyone stay safe.